Hello everyone, how are you going? And welcome back to some more Hinterland Who's, Canada's little snippets of animal information. So we are starting off with the wolf. Ah yes, the sweet sounds, they're back once again.
The wolf is a misunderstood animal with a long history of persecution. His eerie howl is one of the most awe-inspiring wilderness sounds.
Yes.
While its numbers are few in the United States, the wolf is still quite common in northern Canada.
Right.
Wolves on Arctic islands are often snow white, while those found in eastern forests are usually gray-brown.
Yeah, right.
Wolves are gregarious and family life is highly organized. The dominant wolf holds his tail high and eats first.
Oh.
Other members usually know their place, so fights are uncommon.
Fair enough.
Pups are born in a den and may be cared for by several members of a family group.
Yeah, right.
For more information about the wolf, contact the Canadian Wildlife Service, Ottawa.
Oh, well, they're just such dogs in every single way. When you just look at the kind of behavior, just the tails wagging, tails high, whatever it may be, they can just see how we just have them in our homes. But I guess to be fair, if you were going to be inviting one of these fellas into your home, then you were definitely going to, well, for one, need a bigger home because they can grow to be so big. You know, you picture a big dog and then double it is what I've seen. And I mean, of course, there is going to be quite a variety of dogs. And even within the wolves, I can only imagine there's going to be a bit of variety. But when you see an image like this, you go, wow, that is a big, big fella. I mean, I guess on the other hand, when you see an image like this, it doesn't look as big, but then I guess the Great Dane doesn't really put it into correct perspectives because most dogs are going to be more of a fox size than Great Dane size. But I guess honestly, I've never known a hyena was that big. And look, I guess I just have to do the obligatory search of a grey wolf. And so where's it going to be? Least concern population stable. That's the first time I've seen population not decreasing. But hey, otherwise, I've never given much thought as to why different wolves would be different colored, but it totally makes sense. You're going to have white wolves like a polar bear in a white environment and then dark wolves in a darker environment. So I guess once again, like with the bald eagle, Canada is just there to pick up the slack and just provide these animals a place on this planet because clearly, like I said, with the bald eagle, they just get driven out of the USA, whether it be to hunting, extinction, temperature, food chain, whatever it may be, they just cannot live there anymore.
In primitive times, man regarded the black bear with reverence, and today many Indians have veneration for this imposing and massive animal. Adult males weigh about 170 kilograms and are a little more than a meter in height at the shoulder. Appearing awkward and slow-moving, they can reach speeds of 55 kilometers an hour and are expert swimmers and climbers. The bear prefers heavily wooded areas and will eat almost anything that is available.
Fair enough.
The young cubs are born in the winter den and remain with their mother for at least a year. The black bear is shy and retiring, but is unpredictable and should be observed from a distance with respect. For more information on the black bear, please contact the Canadian Wildlife Service in Ottawa.
Oh, well, like we've seen before, and especially with that narration and everything going on there, I can only imagine that means just contact them via the phone. But no, the black bear is an animal that I have very, very, very little to do with, but so much respect for. Like you said, they're expert swimmers. They can climb trees. They can just blend into their environment. They eat anything. Like, they just are the full apex predator of their given territory. It's honestly ridiculous. You do not want to be facing a black bear. But then once again, he said they're kind of recluses. They go, okay, no, I'll leave you alone. It's all good. They're just such an overwhelming animal. I mean, to be honest though, I am surprised that they weigh so little. The fact that the adult male was only weighing up to 170, 180 kilos, it completely blew me away. I've always just pictured them being 450 up to 600 kilos for some reason. I mean, that is a very large animal. That's more like elephant kind of build, but still. And I mean, I guess, or at least I believe that grizzlies are bigger. I mean, not 600 kilos bigger, but at least 250, 300? Oh, well, hang on a second. I don't know what to believe now because Google is now saying between 59 kilos. That's very, very low, all the way up to 300 kilos. Wow. Okay, what? The female's only up to 79 kilos. That is a massive difference. I mean, I guess I would rather face a 60 kilo bear than a 300 kilo bear, but just the claws, the teeth, the speed, everything about them is vicious. Oh, and actually, look at that. That is awesome. Conservation status, least concern, population increasing. For once, we get an increasing. In saying that, though, let's just step up to the big dog, the one that lives in everyone's minds, rent-free. Mass, only 270 kilos, no way. Grizzlies are what's the same size as black bears? Well, I'm not particularly getting a straight answer here because everything's dealing in pounds, basically saying that they are the same size, but who wins black bear versus grizzly bear? A grizzly bear is likely to be able to beat both a polar bear and a black bear in a battle for survival. Wow, I know polar bears are nothing to be trifled with, and so I guess they're all just very, very vicious if they want to be animals. In saying that though, I just need to watch this bear cub just run along again because it is such the perfectly cute kind of trot. It's so unimposing, just bouncing along. It's so animated as well. Looking at it now though, I guess I actually would just take that size and gait into the adulthood, because even though he's twice as wide as a tree, it definitely is still super bouncy, and that's kind of both is somehow cute and very, very imposing. And so I guess if nothing else, just absolutely hats off to the animators of Brother Bear, because that is the exact replica. Alien.
Look closer and you'll see a real-life alien invader. It's not from outer space, but the Asian longhorn beetle is an alien all the same.
Of Canada.
In fact, invasive alien species are all around us.
Wow.
Coming from other parts of the world, they're called invasive because they upset the balance of nature.
Yeah.
They include zebra mussels, which clog up waterways, and purple loosestrife, which chokes out other plants.
Wow.
Native species don't know how to compete with these invaders and end up being overwhelmed. Canada and other countries are trying to stop that from happening. And you can help by doing simple things like making sure you know what you're planting in your garden. And that's just a start. When you go to hww.ca, you'll learn more about invasive species and get ideas on how to help protect Canada's wildlife.
There is so many problems with invasive species all over the world, be it Canada, Australia, especially because we just were so, well, I guess we still are, but very, very isolated for forever, basically. And then all of a sudden, over the last 200 years, you just bring everything in and things just get wiped out. Take cane toads, take ivy, take so many different examples of things just not being able to just deal with these problems anymore. And really, what often gets me is the fact that, like she said, people are actually going and particularly getting these plants and just planting them in their back garden, but then going, just leaving it. And then all of a sudden, their entire forest that they just back onto is just overwhelmed by it. And so in Canada and Australia's case, so many of these things were just brought over by the British, just wanting a little piece of home. Once again, let's just take ivy just growing all over their houses. Oh, it looks so pretty. No, you just looks like you have moss on your walls, but no, we just have forests full of it, and we cannot possibly even conceive how to get rid of it. It's just everywhere. You look at a tree, it should be a beautiful eucalypt, but no, it's just flowering all this other stuff all over it. And also another perfect example of people not particularly thinking straight is the Australian, or I guess not actually Australian, cane toad. They introduced it to try and stop the beetles, and then it's just gone on to do so much more damage than anything ever before it. To be honest, one that certainly caught me off guard was, yes, the dandelion. That is definitely just completely blown me away, because I would have thought that, I don't know, I just would have thought there was kind of an international flower, and so I do wonder, where does it possibly originate from, or is there just subspecies that just belong to different continents? And so look, I guess sadly what is done, and we can only just try to eradicate these species, or at least just contain their complete sprawling nature, but really it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. Do you really need this plant to be taking it across the entire world? As we're going to say country, or maybe even country as well, but just don't take plants and animals and anything that just doesn't belong there. How much could it chuck? Love this dance.
The woodchuck, also called the groundhog, is one of the larger Canadian rodents. A mature adult may weigh up to 17 pounds.
Okay.
In winter, it depends almost entirely on body fat until April, when new plant food reappears.
Wow.
Like
That's
the
impressive.
beaver, the woodchuck's front gnawing teeth grow continuously, except during hibernation. Constant grinding trims them down.
Right.
The breeding period lasts 3 months, and from 4 to 5 young are usual. In May, at about 7 weeks, the young are weaned and cautiously begin to forage on their own. However, they still depend almost entirely on their mother to warn them of impending danger. For more information on the woodchuck, contact the Canadian Wildlife Service in Ottawa.
Don't we all just depend on our mothers just to say, probably don't do that one. Just take it from a word of advice here. Just don't do that. Hey, hang on a second. Just don't do that. You're going to lose your teeth, for goodness sake. I mean, I guess for these guys, that isn't particularly a problem because, well, like with the beaver, once again, blowing my mind that that's even possible just to have continuously growing teeth. Like, can you imagine humans with continuously growing teeth? That would be very, very, very scary. That's something out of, I don't even know, sci-fi and horror mixed together. However, something that is neither sci-fi or horror is the fact that the woodchuck is also a groundhog. I can't believe I've never even put the two together, or never been told, or never researched that, but I did not know that they were the same animal. I mean, for goodness sake, they definitely have kind of very literal but very different names. One's in the ground and one's wood. I mean, sure, they're both kind of ground dwelling, but that's not very descriptive on either behalf. And so to be honest, I kind of feel bad for the groundhog because yes, it has a very famous movie that is very well done, but at the same time, it certainly doesn't have just a unanimously known saying behind it. But would you look at that, even though we may never know how much wood could a woodchuck chuck, a woodchuck could chuck wood, at least we know that the population is of least concern and stable.